January 12th, 2023 is a day millions of people will never forget. We were less than 2 weeks into the new year, and a large tornado outbreak erupted across the southeastern United States. In all, that tornado outbreak lasted more than 15 hours and produced 41 tornadoes, many of those right here in North Georgia. Tornado on the ground. Big tornado on the ground, moving quickly to the east. Aerial surveys confirmed that at one point, there were 3 tornadoes on the ground at the exact same time. The strongest of the 3 took a path of more than 27 miles. That tornado ripped through the city of Griffin. And this is a look at the immediate aftermath. At its strongest, it reached winds of 150 miles an hour.
The tree snapped, this one up here snapped up top, that one fell over, and then all this hit us.
As that tornado ripped through this Hobby Lobby on 1424, it was estimated to be an EF2 with 130 mile-an-hour winds. This is one of the tornado's smallest victims, Lonesome. He ran away from his 85-year-old owner during that tornado, terrified by the winds and the noise. His daddy spent the entire morning looking for him. Thankfully, they were reunited less than 24 hours after the storm. To help those devastated by the storms, Atlanta News First teamed up with the Salvation Army to raise money for those impacted by the storms. Together, we raised more than $10,000 to help those who needed it most. And while the damage to homes, businesses, cars, and trees is catastrophic, the spirit of Griffin is untouched. Money certainly helps, but recovery from such loss also takes time. Meteorologist Patrick Pete went back to Griffin 1 year later to see how the recovery effort is going 365 days later.
This community looking completely different than it looked a year ago. A year ago, multiple tornadoes ravaged this community, leaving this building in shambles. I spoke with the owner who's owned Peterson Funeral Home for 20 years, and he told me the whole process was a lot. They were able to get the building restored, but now the building's for sale.
January 12th, 2023, a day the citizens of Spalding County will never forget.
If you're in Highland Mills, Griffin, East Griffin, Walkerville, you need to be in your safe place.
Homes and businesses destroyed, trees toppled, and lives uprooted.
I think that was just the hand of God giving us time to move out the way.
LaDamian Raines was working at Peterson's Funeral Home when a tornado caused this tree to crash through the business.
A little shook up, but again, we survived it, so that's the best part about it.
At the time, the staff was looking for funds to reopen the funeral home.
Looking for a place is right now, especially in the city of Griffin, it's kind of difficult to find after the catastrophe that happened. Any resources that we can receive, our ears are open.
Now, 1 year later, they've rebuilt, but the doors to the funeral home remain closed. The owner told us off camera, after everything they went through, they no longer wish to keep the business running. Across town, progress is being made at this Hobby Lobby. Construction crews are actively working, and the store will be back open soon. Once the National Weather Service completed their survey, it was determined that 4 tornadoes had wrecked the county.
It was scary. It was real scary. We didn't know what gonna come out of it or what gonna happen.
Everyone we spoke with told us they knew there was a potential for strong storms that day, but nothing could have prepared them for what stormed in.
It's like every tree fell around us, except for the few unfortunate people that have a tree in their living room currently.
I finally got the tornado warning in the building, and they said we have to leave and go down to our safe place, which is on the ground level. We did that, and then within a few minutes of being in there, the wind and the rain were coming through our doors out from the outside in, because one of the tornadoes came right by our building in downtown Griffin.
As we drive around Griffin and Spalding County, there are many areas that have recovered. Other areas, specifically outside of city limits, have experienced a more sluggish progress.
The foundation is there. That's it. The house, nothing. Nothing.
That's where we came across Tammy Sawyer.
Literally uprooted. The roots and everything taken off, it's just gone. Everything's gone here.
Sawyer, who lives in Covington, was watching the news back on January 12th of last year, when she saw a tornado had touched down near her property in Spalding County.
One side was able to get down here, which was roughly a week later, because all of the streets and everything were blocked off, what I saw was just major destruction, something I'd never seen in my life.
She grew up in this house on Kendall Drive, so while she no longer lives in this home, it has a special meaning for her and her family.
These are my roots here. It's the family property. We grew up here, my mom, aunties and everyone, and so we've been here. It's been in the family for roughly 50, 60 years.
1 year later, they are still picking up the pieces and doing what they can to salvage their belongings. They recognize it isn't just their family home, but the entire neighborhood that has been impacted. Some homes have been patched up. Some still have roofs. Other homes appear to be a shell of what they used to be. Another completely gone, with only the cement foundation remaining. Looking around, Sawyer recalls the vibrant neighborhood that once existed here.
This little patch of area over there, it is just really thick. I mean, that's how all of this area used to be. You couldn't see the house next door because of the thick foliage that the trees were, but now all of that is gone. I mean, the trees have been leveled down. From what I know growing up from here, 50 years ago, is nothing compared to where we are now.
After experiences like these, the residents have looked to one another, to their neighbors and friends for support. But limited resources have made it hard for some people. They've had to look to the local and federal governments for assistance, while keeping in mind that the city itself is undergoing its own recovery. When speaking to Griffin City Manager Jessica O'Connor about the city's recovery, she said it's been hard and takes time. The options look different for everyone.
The first thing you have to do is protect people. Then you start looking at property, and what we realized is that we had over 286 units that were either destroyed or severely damaged, where people did not need to be living in them at that particular time. And so recovery didn't start on day 2 or 3 for them. It's ongoing, and even hasn't started for some of them because they don't have the funds that they need, or some of them are out-of-state property owners, so you could still drive down streets in Griffin today and see houses that are destroyed with trees still in them. That's something that we as the city will have to take care of eventually.
Sawyer's family is still hoping this dilapidated building will once again be her family home.
We do plan on reaching out to see if there are any additional resources that are available that could assist us at this point, but right about now it's pretty much on our shoulders to rebuild basically from the ground up.
Despite 4 tornadoes tearing through their county, not one person lost their life.
I'm just thankful because it could have went another way.
January 12th, 2024. Recovery in Griffin and Spalding County has been long. It's been a tiring process, but this community is pushing ahead, and they will continue to do so until homes and businesses are rebuilt, trees are cleared, and people can finally go back to their roots.
Hoping for the best, that's all we can do in a time like this, is just pray and hope for the best to continue, because we still have a long way to go.
In Griffin, Patrick Pete, Atlanta News First.
Before the Griffin area was ravaged, a pair of destructive tornadoes forever changed lives in Troup County. First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin spoke to a man who, a year later, is just now getting ready to move back into his home.
Troup County was one of the first areas to be impacted by severe weather that January Thursday.
We're monitoring radio traffic, watching the CAD system as the 911 calls are coming in. We've been able to track, kind of looking at addresses. We're like, all right, here's a significant area. And then you can kind of plot the damage just based on that. That gives you a pretty good starting point of what you're dealing with.
Troup County Emergency Management Director Zach Steele and the entire team had to assess and react to 2 separate tornadoes within county lines and damage caused by straight-line winds. And as the wind picked up, calls started coming in.
You have a substantial number of homes damaged, businesses damaged. And so getting those damage assessment teams on the ground and getting that data to GEMA, who they submit to FEMA, is very crucial in that stage.
2 separate EF2 tornadoes caused extensive damage in Troup County. The Standing Rock tornado moved out of Chambers County, Alabama, and into northwestern Troup County, northwest of LaGrange, with peak winds of 120 miles per hour. A second twister touched down just south of downtown LaGrange, causing damage to an industrial park, crossing Interstate 85, and severely impacting subdivisions before lifting with winds up to 120 miles per hour. Unfortunately, 4 people were injured.
I get the phone call, tornado hit. I say I can come back that time because the too much windy and the stuff. So After cool down, then I come to home and I seen they blow out everything. My car is gone.
Within sight of Interstate 85, the Lexington Park area was especially hard hit. Mike Patel's home suffered severe damage and had to be gutted. Several homes had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Despite the sights and sounds of progress, scars remain in this corner of Troup County. Some residents have been able to start anew. Others had to leave it all behind. And for some, the journey to rebuild has been slow. There is a shared sentiment in this storm-ravaged community. LaGrange and Troup County are home. They always will be, now and when the next storm blows through.
I don't like to go somewhere because I know my property, independent, alone. I know everybody, each other. If I go somewhere, I don't know nobody who's my neighbor. So better to I stay over here, you know.
Cutter Martin, Atlanta News First.
The Spalding and Troup County tornadoes were two of the biggest on January 12, 2023, but they were just a small part of an outbreak that brought 41 tornadoes to the southeastern United States, of which 12 were in Georgia.
And then all of a sudden the wind got really strong and the house started shaking. The windows were shaking.
In the Atlanta News First viewing area, there were 9 tornadoes, and I want to show you the track of each and every one of them as we go minute by minute through a wild 2 hours during that Thursday afternoon a year ago. The first tornado actually started in Chambers County, Alabama at 3:08 p.m. and crossed into northern Troup County on a 21-mile path at nearly a mile wide with 120-mile-per-hour winds. It lifted at 3:24. And by 3:30, a good distance away and in metro Atlanta, another tornado touched down for 3 minutes as it moved 1.5 miles from Sweetwater Creek State Park in Douglas County to Six Flags Over Georgia in Cobb County. It had winds of 110 miles per hour and was 150 yards wide. It was the only tornado that day north of I-20. At 3:34, the next tornado was on the ground in Troup County, and it would eventually grow to 1,000 yards wide with 120-mile-per-hour winds as it moved on a 12-mile path through LaGrange. As that tornado lifted, another one formed a minute later in Meriwether County and started a 28-mile track through Pike and Spalding counties. It was nearly a mile wide with winds of 120 miles per hour. While that tornado was still on the ground, the most powerful tornado of the outbreak formed in Pike County at 4:11 p.m. That is the EF3 that went through Griffin with 150-mile-per-hour winds. Before that tornado even reached Griffin, an EF1 spun up on a 3-mile path through Spalding County. At 4:27 p.m., while the Griffin tornado was still on the ground, another Spalding County developed, and it would take a 32-mile-long track through Butts and Jasper counties. At its max, winds reached 130 miles per hour, while it was nearly a mile wide. Sadly, a tree fell on a car along its path and killed the passenger. At 4:35, a small EF1 tornado developed in Butts County, making it 3 tornadoes on the ground within approximately 3 miles of each other south of Atlanta. The last tornado of the day in North Georgia developed in Butts County at 4:49 p.m. and lasted for 8 minutes while moving 10 miles into Newton County. It was 500 yards wide and had 95-mile-per-hour winds. That was 9 tornadoes in our area with winds ranging from 90 to 150 miles per hour during those unusual mid-January severe storms.
When we have the threat of tornadoes, there are several things that are important to know to keep you and your family prepared. The first important piece of information that you need to keep in mind is the difference between a watch and a warning. A tornado watch is issued when you need to get ready for the potential for tornadoes. So when we have a severe thunderstorm watch, that means severe storms are possible within the next several hours. When we have a tornado watch, that means that tornadic cells are possible within the next few hours. Now, a warning, that is what you really need to know. That is when you need to take action. So when a tornado warning is issued for your area, that means that a tornado is happening. It's either been spotted by a spotter on the ground or it has been radar indicated. So that is when you need to take action. And there are several things that you can do to keep you and your family safe. You probably hear us talk about it all the time, and we're live on air just like we were around this time last year to keep you and your family safe. So here's how you can take action during a tornado warning. You're going to want to take shelter, and that shelter is you'll want to go to the lowest floor of your home. So if you live in a multi-level home, you'll want to go to the lowest floor. Of course, if you have a basement, even better. You're also going to want to stay away from windows and doors as debris flying around as that tornadic storm moves closer, potentially to where you live. That can cause debris to fly around, and that could obviously puncture through a window. So you want to stay away from windows and doors. You're also going to want to go to an interior room that is preferably a place like a bathroom that doesn't have many doors or windows. So a bathroom or a closet is a great example of an interior room that you can go to. You're also going to want to grab a bike helmet, a pillow, or even, if you can, your mattress. And why do we tell you to do that? Well, because that's going to protect your head. If any kind of debris does make its way into your home, it's a good idea to protect your head by using a bike helmet, a pillow, or even a mattress that you and your family can get behind, just to have that extra layer of protection. You're also going to want to have our First Alert weather app handy. The reason for this, you'll be able to listen to us live when you're away from your TV in that interior room, away from doors and windows on the lowest level of your home. That will allow you to listen to us so you can know where exactly that tornadic storm is headed, and also when the threat for that tornado or severe storm is over. Our First Alert weather app is a great tool to have. It's free in the Apple App Store. You can also get it in Google Play. It will give you several things, including an hour-by-hour forecast catered to your location. Our team of 7 First Alert meteorologists are constantly in there, really making specific how much rain is going to fall, when the rain is going to end, temperatures even down to cloud cover. It also will give you severe weather alerts, and how you turn those on. You'll want to go to the settings and go to the notifications and make sure that they are on for severe weather alerts. You also will get live First Alert radar with alerts. So if there is an active tornado watch, which again means that tornadoes are possible, or if there's a tornado warning, it will let you know on our live radar. It also has future radar, so as you're preparing for active weather during a day, you can see when that rain and the storm activity will start to move into your area. And again, you can listen to live coverage on the Atlanta News First app, the First Alert weather app, also a great tool to have for all of these reasons. So be sure that you are prepared and that you are well-versed on the difference between a watch and a warning on what to do to keep you and your family safe. As of course, here in North Georgia, we are not immune to severe weather.
Oh my God! The tornadoes that impacted us in North Georgia in January of 2023 was a part of a much larger storm system that impacted not only us in North Georgia, but the Southeast and the Midwestern United States. And it was a part of a classic low pressure system that actually impacts us quite often here in the Southeast. You had warm and humid air that was being pulled in from the Gulf of Mexico. You also had colder air that was coming in from the Northwest. And anytime you have this warm and cold air that clashes with each other, you will get storms. And again, that's something that we see a lot in the Southeast. In addition to this basic setup of storms on the ground, on this particular day, we also had a really fast wind, about 20,000 feet off the ground. We call this an upper level low, and this really enhanced these storms on January the 12th, 2023. The reason why is because not only were these winds super strong higher up, but you had a wind coming from one direction higher up and a completely different direction on the ground. And because of those winds coming from different directions, that created spin in the air. We call that wind shear, and that's why we saw 41 tornadoes on January the 12th, 2023 alone. Not unusual to see this set up, but it is fairly unusual for January. This is a look at our tornadoes by month, the average number of tornadoes in the United States. And as you can see, January is a month that typically sees the third fewest amount of tornadoes each year. Of course, as you get into the spring and summertime, those numbers really spike as temperatures start to heat up. But this particular event is a reminder that tornadoes can and often do develop any time of the year, and we'll always keep you up to date on that potential in our First Alert weather app.
Thank you so much for joining us for this look back at the January tornadoes of 2023. The First Alert weather team is hard at work to make sure you and your family are always informed and safe. Download the free Atlanta News First Alert weather app. That way you can get up-to-the-minute updates and notifications. I'm Atlanta News First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez.